Everyone, this is Matt from Akai Professional down at GAK in Brighton, and I'm here today with the Force. So let's check out some of the features. So the Force carries on Akai's long legacy of standalone production units. This time we're combining some of the classic MPC workflows with a 64 grid clip matrix. For connectivity on the unit, we have a pair of combi, line and mic preamps, which are also capable of providing phantom power to condenser mics. We have two pairs of TRS outputs, CV, gate, MIDI in, out and through. We also have two USB slots and SD at the front for importing sample content or saving projects. We also have a Cat5 connection and USB-B to a laptop. Also for connectivity to keep your content in situ, we have a built-in 2.5 SATA docking drive. This means I can connect SSD cards of all my sample content and my project files in one place. The Force has a 7-inch multi-touch, multi-gesture screen, in addition to our clip matrix and our note modes. So a project on the Force can consist of any of the following elements. If I tap Add Track, you can see we have an option to record audio, drum program, plugin, key group, which is a multi-sampled instrument, MIDI, and CV tracks. If I close this now and focus on my first track, which is my drum program, you'll see I have each of my 16 samples contained within this drum program. Now if I hit Edit and tap any of the pads, we instantly have access on our touchscreen to all of our sample parameters. So you can see we have our sample layers, pan and velocity, filter envelope, LFO modulation, and effects. Now per sample, I can apply any 4 inserts simply by paging through any of the onboard air effects. But also, if I hit Menu and go to my mixer section, I can apply any of those effects directly to my master buses. So I can record drums on the Force in a number of ways. I can live play in using a finger drum style, and to do this, simply focus on an empty clip slot, record arm the track, now if I hit clip, you can see I have access to all of my MIDI note events. I can lasso any of these events and move these about the grid. I can use my erase tool to erase events, but also use my pen to draw in independent notes. Also on board the Force is a step sequencer. Step sequencing is a great way to intuitively record drums fast. If I hit step sequencer, you'll see I now have my grid separated into 2 elements. My step sequencer at the top and my samples on the bottom. So I can hit the kick drum now and start editing. The Force has 4 inbuilt software instruments. If I hit Menu and go to Browse, tap on Instruments, you'll see we have our bassline, electric, hype, and tube synth. Hype is a brand new synth exclusive to the Force and features elements of analog synthesis, wavetabling synthesis, subtractive synthesis, and FM synthesis. So a very powerful multi-engine plugin. If I hit my matrix now and focus on plugin number 2, where I have an instance of hype loaded. If I hit Track Edit now, you'll see I have a beautiful plugin GUI available from the touchscreen. And I can page through each of the values using the touchscreen. Also, I can tap on any of these values and edit using the touchscreen, or simply use the encoder in a more traditional style. A great feature on the Force are the OLEDs above each of the touch capacitive knobs. If I hold knobs mode and press screen, you'll be able to see each time I page through a different tab on the synth, these settings are reflected on my 8 encoders. So using the knobs mode, any page that I'm in on my plugin GUI is reflected on the 8 touch capacitive rotaries. So for example, I can hit macro, play a note, and easily edit from the knobs. So the Force has many ways of playing these different plugins. If I hit Shift and Note mode, currently I'm in Scales mode. And you see my root note is set to C, and I have my scale set as chromatic. But I can page through these and have access to major scales, natural minors, harmonic, pentatonic major, pentatonic minor, and all of the modes. So let's go to major. You can see my pink pads are my root notes, with the white pads being everything in between. So let's page 2 now to a minor scale. It's also available to me, I have chords mode. If I page across and go to chords mode, this assigns a single chord to one pad. So right now I'm in C major. Another great mode is progressions mode. If I hit chord, if I tap chords and page across now to progressions, very much like chord mode, this assigns an entire chord to a single pad, but also runs a progression across the remaining pads. So you can see here, my root note is still C, I'm in the first octave, pop progression number 5, which sounds like this. Now if I press the encoder on progressions, you'll see we have access to a number of different genres and progressions within those genres. So from the start we have ballad, dance, gospel, jazz, and pop. Another really quick way to cycle through your note modes is if you hold down note, you'll see you're greeted with a GUI for each individual note mode. So I can tap scales, and I'm immediately in scales mode. So on track 4 of my project, I have an audio track that I imported from the Force's internal sample library. If I press clip, you'll see I have access to my audio waveform. Again, this allows for quick and easy editing. I can simply use my scissor tool to chop up the sample, or I can adjust the start and end length. And again, focusing on my rotary encoders, and I have access to my loop length quickly and efficiently from the knobs. And just to note, when you're importing sample content into the Force, be it externally or using the internal content, every single one of those samples will warp to the master tempo of your project, non-destructively. So on track number 5, I have an instance of my tube synth plugin. If I hit menu, track edit, you'll see again, we're now greeted with this beautiful plugin GUI. And again, I can page through each of the individual values on the synth. And remember, I can also go to my knobs mode, keep it in screen mode, and whichever tab I'm on will be reflected in the 8 rotary encoders. TubeSynth was first debuted on our MPC 2.3 update, and together with Bassline and Electric, we've brought this into the Force workflow. So as I mentioned earlier, Force incorporates some classic MPC Star workflows. What this basically means is how we manipulate samples. So on track number 6, I have an audio loop. And again, you can see if I press clip, I have access to my audio waveform. So to edit this sample and chop it up in an MPC style, I can hit my menu button and then hit sample edit. If I tap the trim, you'll see that's now changed to my chop options. So I can hit regions and chop via transients, or hit manual and manually chop each of my audio events. So if I hit shift and press convert, we'll then convert all these slices to a new drum program. And you hit do it. Let's go back to the matrix now. And you see now it's created a brand new multi-sampled instrument. The cool thing about converting single chops into a whole sample group is we can now affect each of these pads individually with different inserts. So if I hit pad mixer, we can now apply any insert individually to each of the samples. So I focus on this pad here, and I can page across. And I can now tap the plus icon and apply any of the built-in air effects to this one sample. And if I tap the pen tool, you see again I have the plugin GUI enabled. Now I can have a maximum of 4 inserts, so I can tap effect number 2, go to my air channel strip, tap the pen icon, and apply those. So in addition to our insert effects, the Force also features our XY effects. And this is great for a real-time manipulation of tracks. If I launch these 3 clips here, apply any of the XY effects to my performance. So let's start on the beat repeat. Now page through. We have access to our low pass filter, band pass filter, phaser, flanger, delay with the band pass filter, and also more crazy effects like our tape stop. Now any of these effects can be latched as well. So if I hit latch, that latches the effect without me having to keep my finger on the XY axis. So in terms of our clip matrix, if you're familiar with the workflow of Ableton Live, you'll be immediately at home with this unit. So as you can see, I have some clips pre-recorded. On the top row, I can launch the entire row using the launch button. I can start and stop these, also quantized. So you can see I can live remix and I can chop and change the arrangement as I wish. Hitting stop all clips will stop the entire project's audio, again quantized, which means we'll wait for the bar end before it performs this operation. So with a clip launch style workflow, this means we're working vertically. If I wish to copy any of these clips down to, let's say, have a B section, it's very easy. We simply hit copy, and we can move any of these performances into our next clip row. Again, to delete, I can hold delete, pick a clip, and that clip is gone. And again, I can launch this entire row using the launch function on the right-hand side. Now, if I have a project made up of many different clips, I can simply hit navigate, and I can use the arrow keys to page down. Let's say, for example, if I have song 1, a space, and song 2. So I can quickly access the next set of clips. So another element that can be incorporated into the live remixing production style is our crossfader. To assign the crossfader, we simply hit either assign A or assign B. So if I hit assign A and choose a couple of tracks, and for assign B, I'll do the same. I'll launch this entire row now. I can flick between the two channels. And the crossfader curve is adjustable. If I hit Shift and Solo, you see if I tap crossfader, we can change the profile from linear, exponential, and then to logarithmic. So I mentioned our 8 rotary encoders before. These are actually customizable depending on your project. If I hit Shift and knobs, you see I have a mode called Project Mode. Let's say, for example, I have a plugin loaded onto my master section. I can simply hit my insert, make sure I'm on master, make sure the encoder is selected, and I can choose a parameter for that particular encoder. So right now I have a high pass filter set on my master. Let's tap our resonance here, and then for the second parameter, let's go with our frequency. So this whole project section can be set up with as many different custom macros as you like, and they can be as simple or as complex depending on your project. So let's quickly talk about our mixer section. If I tap our mixer button, you see I have access to my master volumes of each of the tracks. Again, I can use my encoders, or I can tap pan, or use my scroll encoder, or I can double tap and use my touchscreen. Paging through again, we have our sends, and also our inserts. Now, very much like our pad mixer, I can simply tap the plus icon, page through any plugin we wish to use. So in addition to our complete Air Effects library, we also have some favorites from our MPC line. On track 1, I have an instance of our Mother Ducker input setup. So if I tap here, you'll see we have one instance set up on our drum track. And if I tap my bass plugin, go to my mixer, you'll see I have an instance of the Mother Ducker with all of my parameters. The Mother Ducker is a great sidechain compressor. So in addition to our many workflows, the Force is also capable of providing Ableton Link over Wi-Fi. This means I can sync the Force seamlessly with any Ableton project. Also, the Force is capable of running Bluetooth connectivity. This means I can have a Bluetooth-enabled MIDI device alongside the Force, such as an LPD wireless. So as you can see, the Force can be many things to many different types of producers. It can act as a great hub, combining our line and mic inputs together with our MIDI and CV connectivity. This means we can run sources such as synthesizers, guitars, or turntables for sampling purposes. Also for DJs, it can work seamlessly into your setup, whether you're using this with media players, or simply clocking it via MIDI to your mixer, or using the Ableton Link protocol. And as I mentioned before, the preamps are capable of providing 48-volt phantom power. Again, for vocalists and songwriters, this can be a great production and writing tool. So there you have it, that's a brief overview of the brand new Akai Force. Don't forget, these are available in-store or online from GAK.